Here we go. So this is for the replay audience. Welcome everyone. Tony here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between being a freelancer and being an entrepreneur. And so that discussion comes from Seth Godin. And what's up, Rob? I posted a link to the Seth Godin article. This is usually what I start my Medicare billing course with. So I figured, you know what? It's Monday night. My wife is out doing school activities and my kids are eating dinner. So I'm going to jump on here and talk to you guys a little bit about business. And so this is my concept, my adaptation from Robert Kiyosaki's original thought, which he called the Cashflow Quadrant. And you can see, you guys should be able to see my screen. Yeah, Seth Godin. That's right, buddy. He wrote the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. Great book. If you haven't read it, go out and read it. A couple hundred pages, super easy read. I'm not necessarily endorsing the author the way he is today, but the author back when he wrote the book shared some great concepts, and I think it's one of those foundational books. E-Myth and Rich Dad Poor Dad, pretty much every one of us who's starting a practice either has read or needs to read. So get out there and check them out. They're super, super easy. And they're actually on, if you do a search, you can find them on YouTube. If you want to listen to the audiobook in your car for free, it's available. But let's talk about this real quick. So he created this on the right, this cash flow quadrant, where you see the E for employee, the S for self-employed, B for business owner, and I for investor. I changed it to this pyramid because it just makes more sense to me this way. And so obviously the foundation of the pyramid, right? It's the biggest part of the pyramid. It's where the most people are. It's the employee position. That's where most of us start. We all had our time as employees at one point, whether like I was a dishwasher when I was 15. I did all sorts of crazy stuff. But I knew even as a child, there was no way I could be an employee the rest of my life. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. If I had in my heart and my goal was to be the best possible clinician I could possibly be, I would stay in the employee role because that gives me the freedom to become a master of my craft, right? To just continue to learn, continue to improve, continue to focus. I love PT. I love what I do, but it's not my ultimate passion. I love business more than anything. And so for me, I knew I was going to move up this pyramid, even I didn't know what the pyramid was at the time. But as the employee, the problem with being the employee, the challenge is that you essentially get paid last, right? They take out taxes, they take out Medicare, they take out Social Security, federal withholding. You have to pay toward your group benefits, your policy, whatever that's going to be. You don't get any real deductions for business expenses. So at the end of the day, you essentially do the most amount of work in the organization. I don't think anybody, and I'm not anti-CEO. I think if there's a CEO of a publicly traded company and they're going to make $35 million, they deserve it. That's, you know, what the pay is, and that's what they earned. But that being said, I'm also not going to say that the guy laying bricks who's making $15 an hour is doing less work than the guy who's making 30 million a year, right? So the employee at the end of the day gets paid last, does the most work. The operation can't function without the employees. So they're vitally important to the entire structure above it. But that being said, you're in this group, most likely, hey Jennifer, most likely it's because you want to move up this pyramid, right? You're sick of being paid last, you're sick of being paid the least and doing the most work. So most of us, most of you are in the process of making that transition to tier number 3, which is the self-employed, right? Now, my fear for you is that you confuse being self-employed with being a business owner. There's vast differences between the two categories, and I want you to be crystal clear. It's okay to be self-employed. And my, explanation, when you look at Seth Godin, and this is actually the article that I linked to in the post, this Inc. article. But when you look at what he says, what's the difference between a freelancer, which in this case we're going to say is somebody who's self-employed, and an entrepreneur, which we're going to say is somebody who's a business owner. And the major difference is the freelancer gets paid when they work, right? You as a clinician, PTOT speech, you as a clinician have a high value to the work that you do. You can get paid a high dollar amount per hour for the work that you do. But if you're in the role of clinician, you're only getting paid when you're working. So that being said, we can love what we do. We can be amazing at what we do. Most of you were so good at what you do that you couldn't stand staying in the role of employee because you wanted to make positive changes. But the people above you wouldn't allow you to make those changes. That's where we were, my wife and I, when we were working for a local hospital. We were frustrated. We were just sick of not being able to improve the system. So we went out on our own. And I think that's where a lot of you were. And we were what you would call self-employed. We did everything. We treated every patient. We received every fax. We answered every call. We wore every hat in the organization. And for a time, that was great, because what that did was it gave us an opportunity to build and understand how each job in the business should be done. How should we answer the phone? How should we greet a new person when they call? How should we document? How should we, the fax cover sheet is an opportunity for marketing to the physician. How do we word that right copy on the fax cover sheet, because it's ultimately a sales letter? All these kinds of things. If we weren't doing it, we couldn't understand how to do it better and how to improve it. And so being the self-employed individual, wearing every hat in the organization is not a bad position to be in. Plus, you make a boatload of money. I mean, the reality is you make the most money you're probably ever going to make doing the work in that capacity, right? So there's a time and a place for being self-employed. But the danger comes when you think you're a business owner and actually you're just self-employed. Because if you're self-employed, you're still just an employee of yourself. And you are the worst possible boss you can ever have for yourself. You are going to work yourself to the bone. You're going to pay yourself the least. You're going to reinvest all your money. It is going to be miserable. So you as your own boss is the toughest position to be in. I just want to make sure, because I was missing comments before. That being said, the next step would be the business owner, the entrepreneur, the person who's building a platform that will continue on into perpetuity. The business owner has an exit strategy. The business owner doesn't need to be in the day-to-day operations. The business owner isn't putting out fires every single day. And the simple truth is, if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, if I got hit by a bus, nobody would even know. My family would know. My wife hopefully would be sad. But the bottom line is the business would continue on with zero interruption, because we've built a business to continue on without us. If I was still in that role of being self-employed, if I was still seeing all the patients and signing all the plans of care and doing all that stuff, if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, everything would stop. No money would be coming in. Everything would crumble, right? There's no architecture holding it together. There's no structure in there. It's just me doing everything. So the way you go from being self-employed to the business owner is you create systems. So I recorded a video for my group, the Medicare billing group, and I literally answered the phone. I don't usually answer the phone, but this was a situation where the phone was ringing. I was sitting at the desk. I had my phone right next to me. So I was like, heck, I'm going to do this. So I hit record on my phone. I picked up the phone and I started talking. And I go through the entire, it turned out it was a new patient who wanted a schedule. And so I don't know how long it was, let's say 12 minutes or 11 minutes. I recorded the entire conversation. Was it amazing? No, not at all, because I don't have practice. I haven't done it in years. But it goes to show you how I use that video now to help train other people, to take the good stuff, to ignore the bad stuff, develop our systems and our policy, so that when we hire a new admin person, a new front desk, when they have to learn how to answer the phone, they can watch examples, they can read the policies that are written out. We have all the tools within arm's reach. That is a true business. When somebody buys a McDonald's franchise, besides buying the name and the brand, they're buying the policies and the procedures, the way to do stuff, the way to make the same crappy hamburger every single time, right? The way to make the same amazing French fries that you dip in chocolate milkshake every single time. Consistency. So that's the difference between being self-employed. You do everything. You wear every hat in the organization. Hey, Aaron. And being the business owner, where now you've built the structure, you've put people in positions to excel, and now you can kind of step back, oversee everything. You can scale other people's time, leverage other people's money, and grow from there. If something happened to you, the business would continue. If you decided to sell, the business has value. It's an asset. It puts money in your pocket. Finally, the highest tier that I believe, is where my goal is, my aspiration is to be an investor. And so the investor is that person who's truly hands off. The investor is that person, that you always hear about. Let's say, for example, Warren Buffett, you buy a share of McDonald's. I'm not flipping burgers. I'm not sitting in at board meetings, but I get a dividend. I get value in the stock, whether it's up or down. I own a share of Coca-Cola. I'm not out there, sorry for the politics, poisoning kids, but I'm receiving money from the company's success, right? And so as an investor, I'm going to give you an example where I sat in the seat of literally all four of these. Let me see if anybody's commenting here. All right. Hey, Karen, thanks for joining. So let's talk about this. So when I started, I was a hospital employee, right? I worked just as hard as I did when I was self-employed and as a business owner, no doubt. I made a fraction of the money. I wasn't even a therapist. I was an exercise tech, right? An aide. But it's in my nature that I was going to kill myself working as hard as I could, whether I was making $10 an hour or $150 an hour. So that's where I started. I was an employee of the hospital. Then I broke off. I rented an 800 square foot space. I put a shingle out. It said Siesta Key Personal Training. I wasn't a physical therapist then. I was a strength coach, and I started a personal training studio. 800 square feet, $10,000 worth of equipment, and started selling packages, all self-pay, 10 sessions, 5 sessions, 1 session. I was self-employed. I woke up. I started training people at 5 a.m. I was training people at 7 p.m. I was sweeping the floors and cleaning the toilets and picking music for the radio and like all that kind of stuff. Everything went through me, went to the bank for deposits, paid all the bills. Then as we grew, we switched from personal training to physical therapy. We opened a second location. We opened a third location. We invested time and lots of money into building out our systems, our policies and procedures, so that everything, the goal of the organization at that point was I could take a person walking down the street, put them in the reception chair, and they should be able to do the job without asking me a single question. Telephone rings, there's a clipboard, there's a questionnaire. It says how to answer the telephone. They pick it up. Hi, my name's Tony Maritato. How can I help you today? Or thanks for calling Total Therapy Solutions, right? It's a new patient. They flip the page. This is what you say to a new patient when they call on the phone. This is what you say to a patient who's trying to cancel when they call on the phone. This is what you say to a patient who needs to reschedule, they don't want to cancel, but you're trying to figure out where to fit them out. Like every single scenario is listed out right there, and it's all within arm's reach from the phone. They need to process a payment, the credit card procedure, the check procedure, the cash procedure, everything is right there within arm's reach from the front desk. Like these are the systems that bring value to your business. That's what turns self-employed to business owner. So at one point, we had 3 clinics in Florida. We had 2 clinics in Ohio. We were living in Ohio. We were not traveling to Florida. We probably went over a decade without going to Florida. We were truly at that point an investor in terms of the Florida clinics. We had staff there that we never had an opportunity to meet, but they were great people. We had our leadership team in place, and we received a percentage of all the profits that came in from the Florida clinics. We were an investor. We didn't have anything to do with those clinics. Here in Ohio, I literally work a couple mornings a week at one of the clinics. Technically, you can call me self-employed. I don't know that I'd call myself an employee. And then our second clinic runs on its own here. We have staff and team in place. I don't go there to treat patients. I'm a business owner for that, right? So like simultaneously, I can be a business owner, an investor, and self-employed. So it's not like you have to pick one and choose. I know we're clinicians and we love to categorize and put everything into a box and make it nice and neat and tidy, but it's not. But the biggest trap, and the reason why I'm here with you all tonight, is because I want you to look hard in the mirror, look at yourself, decide where you are, what you're doing. And any of these levels is fine. You can be, I've told countless people who, like I said in the beginning of this, you're dying to be amazing clinicians. You want to be top tier clinicians, best in the world. Stay an employee. Like if I have a business, let me do the billing and the taxes and all the other junk that you don't want to do. Let me do that for you. Obviously, there's going to be a percentage that goes to me, but then you can be the employee who becomes the best clinician, that ever was. That could be your goal, and that's an amazing goal, and we need more people doing that. And I think too many of those people think they need to be business owners, but they're not cut out for it. They don't want it. They don't enjoy it. Like you have to legit love growing a business. You could take everything away from me tomorrow, and I'm still going to go out there and try and grow a business because it's just in my nature. When I was 9, when I was 19, when I was 39, like I've always been obsessed with business. And so PT is an amazing hobby for me, but business is my passion, and creating business more than anything, finding what people need, finding what people are willing to pay. I don't even care if it's $1, $100, $100, $1,000. It's all the same to me. It's just the fact that somebody's willing to get something out of their wallet and give it to me in exchange for something that they value more. That's the game that I love. That's the everlasting game that never ends. That's part of the passion, the why that I do the stuff that I do with you guys, is because I just love it. Like it fills my tank. It rejuvenates me. Now I'll go into the clinic tomorrow. I'll treat a couple patients and I'll be excited because I got to talk to you guys tonight about this kind of stuff. Jennifer, oh yeah, it's a lot of work. Need to know the commitment. Yeah, like you can't do it because you think it's the right thing to do. You do it because you can't think of anything else that you would want to do. So check it out. I don't want to go on any longer. This is a good article, freelancer versus entrepreneur. Both of them are phenomenal. You saw Beyonce and J-Lo last night. They're freelancers. They got paid to perform. They're also business owners. And so think about that. You can be in both worlds. You just need to understand who your target market is, what you're doing when you're filling the role of freelancer versus what you're doing when you fill the role of business owner. 7:37. I don't see any questions coming out. I'm going to go ahead. I've recorded this. I'm going to put it on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, get over there. Learn Medicare Billing, I think is what it's called. Check it out, subscribe, like, share, do all the stuff you're supposed to do so that, you know, the channel can expand its reach. But otherwise, you guys have an amazing night. Thanks for coming on.